Have you ever looked around and felt like everyone else is moving faster than you? Your friends seem to have their careers figured out. Your coworkers are climbing ladders, buying houses, getting married, posting perfect milestones online. And you feel stuck. No matter how hard you try, you can't shake the feeling that you're falling behind. It's as if life is a race, and you're watching from the sidelines, wondering why you can't keep up. This thought gnaws at you in quiet moments. Maybe when you scroll through Instagram late at night, or when you sit at your desk staring at the same tasks, asking yourself, why am I not further ahead by now? What's wrong with me? That silent voice whispers, you're behind, everyone else is winning. You're losing. But here's the truth that almost no one dares to say out loud, you are not behind, not at all. What's really happening is something far more uncomfortable. You are terrified of moving forward without a mask. What do I mean by that? Think about it. Every role you play at work, with friends, online comes with a mask. A polished version of yourself. The confident one, the reliable one, the funny one, the strong one. The mask keeps you accepted, admired, even envied. But deep down, you know it's not fully you. And that's why you hesitate, because moving forward without that mask would mean being seen as you really are, raw, imperfect, vulnerable. And that is the real fear. Not failure, not falling behind, but being exposed. Being judged for who you actually are, without the safety of the persona you've been hiding behind for years. So when you feel stuck, when you feel like life is passing you by, pause for a moment. Maybe you're not falling behind at all. Maybe you're simply paralyzed by the thought of stepping into the future without the disguise that's been protecting you. Before we dive deeper, I want to ask you for a small favor. If this message is already resonating with you, if it feels like I'm speaking to a part of you that you usually keep silent, then don't let this be the last time we meet. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll be the very first to know when I release the next video, packed with insights designed to help you face your inner struggles and transform them into strength. Your journey deserves guidance, and I promise to keep bringing you content that speaks to your soul. Think about the world we live in, especially here in America. From the moment you're old enough to understand what success means, you're thrown into a competition you never signed up for. Grades in school, the college you get into, the career you choose, the salary you make, the kind of relationships you're in, all of it becomes a scoreboard. Everywhere you turn, there's a silent message screaming at you. Prove yourself. Show the world you're winning. It's not just society telling you this, it's baked into the culture. Hustle harder, rise and grind, be productive. Move fast or you'll be left behind. And when you can't keep up with that relentless pace, the shame creeps in. The fear that you're failing. The fear that everyone else is ahead of you. Now imagine a young professional in New York City. Let's call her Emily. On Instagram, Emily's life looks flawless. Weekend brunches with friends, smiling selfies in front of city lights. A job title that sounds impressive when she updates her LinkedIn. Every picture, every caption, every story is carefully curated to say, I'm doing great. Look at me, I'm thriving. But here's what you don't see. After those brunches, Emily goes home to an apartment that feels unbearably empty. She lies awake at night with a knot in her chest, scrolling through her own profile, almost convincing herself that she's as happy as she looks. But deep down, she knows the truth. The life she projects is not the life she lives. And this is not just Emily's story, it's everywhere. Maybe it's your coworker who talks about their big promotion, but secretly cries in their car before walking into the office. Maybe it's your friend who posts relationship goals pictures with their partner, while behind closed doors, they're fighting every other night. Or maybe it's you. Why do we do this? Why do we spend so much energy maintaining these polished images of ourselves? Because somewhere deep inside, There's a fear that if the mask slips, even for a second, we'll be exposed. People will see the doubts, the weaknesses, the messy, imperfect human beneath the persona. And in a culture obsessed with performance, to be seen as vulnerable feels like the ultimate failure. But here's the paradox. The more you hide behind the mask, the more stuck you become. You start living not for yourself, but for the image you've created. Every decision becomes about maintaining the facade, choosing jobs, relationships, even hobbies that look good on the outside, while inside you feel increasingly disconnected. And the worst part? The world applauds you for it. The likes, the comments, the promotions, they all reinforce the mask, until one day you realize you've built a whole life around something that isn't even real. Carl Jung called this mask the persona. He warned that while it's necessary to some extent, it helps us function socially. It becomes dangerous when we mistake it for our true self. And that's exactly what's happening in modern culture. The mask has stopped being a tool and has become the entire identity. Think about how common this is in America today. We've replaced authentic living with performative living. Your Instagram feed is not your diary, it's your stage. Your resume isn't just a list of what you've done, it's your worth in society's eyes. Your relationship isn't just love, it's a badge of status. And beneath it all, people feel more lost, more anxious, and more disconnected than ever before. The tragedy is that most people don't even realize they're stuck. They think they're behind because their mask doesn't shine as brightly as someone else's. They think they're failing because they haven't hit the milestones that others flaunt. But the truth is far more painful. They're not behind at all. They're simply too afraid to move forward without the mask. Because what would happen if Emily stopped posting those perfect pictures? What if your coworker admitted they hate the promotion everyone envied? What if you stopped pretending to have it all together? Would people still respect you? Would they still love you? Or would they finally see the raw, unfiltered truth and turn away? That fear of being exposed, of being unmasked, is what keeps millions of people frozen in place. It's not laziness. It's not a lack of ambition. It's the terror of walking into the unknown without the shield of a carefully crafted identity. And yet, if you look closely, you'll see the irony. The very mask that was supposed to protect you is the thing that's suffocating you. It keeps you safe on the surface, but robs you of depth, intimacy, and the chance to grow into who you really are. So the next time you feel like you're falling behind, pause and ask yourself, am I really behind? Or am I just afraid of moving forward without the mask? Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, gave us a language to understand what most of us feel but can't explain. He called the persona the mask. It's the face you present to the world, the version of yourself designed to be accepted, respected, admired. And make no mistake, the persona is not inherently bad. Without it, we would struggle to function in society. It allows us to adapt, to fit in, to play roles that keep social life running smoothly. But here's where the danger lies. The moment you begin to believe that the mask is you, you've lost touch with your essence. You're not moving at your own pace anymore. You're being dragged by the expectations that built the mask in the first place. Jung warned that when a person becomes too identified with their persona, they become hollow, disconnected, like an actor who has forgotten they were ever playing a role. Think about how this plays out in real life. You might be the confident one at work, always composed, never showing doubt. But inside, you're crumbling. You might be the happy one in your family, carrying everyone else's burdens with a smile, while inside you're exhausted and resentful. Or maybe you're the achiever, the one with endless goals, degrees, and accolades, yet when the noise quiets down, you feel an emptiness you can't explain. That emptiness is the soul reminding you, this is not me, this is the mask. Jung's insight was radical for his time and still radical today. He believed that most of our suffering does not come from failure in the outer world, but from betrayal of the inner self. You are not falling behind. You are not broken. You are simply trapped in a life where the mask leads, instead of your soul. But Jung didn't stop there. He showed us that beyond the mask lies something even more important: the shadow. The shadow is everything we repress, deny, or refuse to acknowledge about ourselves. It's the anger you were told was unacceptable, the desires you labeled as shameful, the vulnerabilities you tried to bury. All of it gets pushed into the unconscious, hidden away, yet never gone. And here's the paradox: the shadow holds the very keys to your growth. Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." In other words, your freedom doesn't come from building a better mask. It comes from turning toward what you've been running from. Imagine your shadow as a locked basement in your house. For years, you've thrown everything you don't want to deal with down there. You lock the door and hope no one ever opens it. But the longer you ignore it, the louder the noises get. The basement doesn't disappear, it shapes your life from below. This is why you find yourself repeating patterns, sabotaging relationships, and falling into the same emotional traps. It's not fate. It's not bad luck. It's the shadow pulling the strings because you refuse to face it. Now here's the connection to our theme. You feel behind, not because you actually are, but because the mask has frozen you and the shadow is blocking your path. You can't move forward because part of you knows that real progress would mean tearing down the facade and confronting what's inside. And that terrifies you. But what if you shifted your perspective? What if instead of seeing the shadow as an enemy, you saw it as a hidden ally? Jung believed that within the shadow lies untapped creativity, passion, and strength. The anger you buried could become your assertiveness. The sadness you hide could become your empathy. The fear you suppress could become your courage. Integration, not denial, is what makes a person whole. This is why Jung spoke of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who you truly are. It's not about perfecting the mask. It's about balancing the persona with the shadow, bringing the unconscious into the light, and reclaiming all the parts of yourself you left behind. Only then can you walk freely into the future, unmasked, authentic, and alive. So the next time you feel that you're stuck or left behind, remember this: the race you think you're losing is an illusion. The real challenge is not keeping up with others. It's daring to look behind the mask, to open the door to your shadow, and to step into life without hiding. That is not falling behind, that is finally moving forward. If there's one place where Jung's idea of the mask plays out in full view, it's modern America. Walk into any coffee shop in New York, Los Angeles, or Chicago, and you'll see it everywhere: the hustle culture written on people's faces, the carefully polished image on laptop screens, the constant need to be doing, proving, achieving. It's not just encouraged, it's demanded. In this culture, rest looks like laziness, slowing down feels like failure, and being ordinary is treated like a crime. This obsession has a name: hustle culture. It's the belief that your worth is measured by how much you do, how fast you do it, and how loudly you announce it. Rise and grind, no days off, sleep when you're dead. These slogans are more than motivational cliches. They're the commandments of a society that confuses exhaustion with accomplishment. But beneath this relentless busyness lies a hidden wound. People are not working themselves to the bone purely for love of the grind. They're terrified of what will happen if they stop. Because if they pause, even for a moment, the mask might slip. The image of the ambitious, unstoppable go-getter would crumble, and behind it, the truth might emerge: fear, confusion, insecurity. So they keep running, not forward, but in circles. Layered on top of hustle culture is something even more insidious: the digital persona. Social media has become the global stage where masks are not only worn but celebrated. Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, they've turned life into a performance, where every vacation, promotion, and relationship is curated into a highlight reel. It's not about living. It's about broadcasting, not about being, but about appearing. Think about how this works. On Instagram, your mask gets likes. On LinkedIn, your mask gets endorsements. On TikTok, your mask goes viral. And so the mask becomes addictive because it feeds you validation that feels real even if it's hollow. The tragedy is that the more successful the mask becomes, the more invisible your real self grows. And the consequences? They're written in the statistics. Anxiety and depression rates in the US are higher than ever. Millions wake up every morning with a pit in their stomach, convinced they're not enough because their lives don't measure up to the images they consume daily. Social media, meant to connect, has left people lonelier. Hustle culture, meant to inspire, has left people burned out. And both together create the illusion that if you're not running at full speed, you're being left behind. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not behind at all. What's really happening is paralysis. You're standing still, not because you lack talent or opportunity, but because you're afraid of moving without the mask. The mask feels like armor. It shields you from judgment, from rejection, from being truly seen. And so you cling to it, even if it means suffocating your own soul. This is why so many people feel stuck. They scroll endlessly, comparing their inner chaos to someone else's polished feed. They overwork themselves to maintain an identity that isn't sustainable. They call it ambition, but often it's fear. Fear of being exposed as less than perfect. Fear of admitting they don't have it all together. Fear of walking forward without the mask. And the cost of this fear is enormous. It drains energy, erodes mental health, and creates the constant sense that something essential is missing. You can achieve, you can post, you can collect every external marker of success, but if it's all done to protect the mask, the emptiness never goes away. That's why even at the peak of success, so many people whisper in the dark. Why do I still feel behind? Why does this still not feel like me? Jung would say the answer is simple, but not easy. You feel behind because you're measuring progress by the standards of the mask, not by the growth of your soul. The soul doesn't care about likes, resumes, or hustle. It cares about authenticity. And until you align your life with that truth, no amount of external achievement will set you free. So maybe the question isn't, am I behind? Maybe the real question is, what mask am I still clinging to? And what would it take to move forward without it? Because in the end, you're not being left behind. You're simply waiting at the starting line, frozen, afraid to take the first step as yourself. And the moment you dare to move unmasked, that's when you're Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." At first glance, it sounds simple, almost obvious. Of course, we want to be ourselves. But when you look around in today's culture, you realize how rare this privilege really is. Most people never experience it. They live entire lives behind carefully constructed masks, chasing validation instead of authenticity. They mistake the applause of others for the voice of their soul. Jung's words remind us that becoming who we truly are is not just a choice. It's the greatest achievement we can hope for. But here's the paradox. To become yourself, you must risk losing the mask, and that's terrifying. Because what if the real you is rejected? What if the raw, unpolished, imperfect self is not enough? That fear is what paralyzes millions. Yet Jung's point is clear. The only life worth living is the one that belongs to you. Anything less, no matter how decorated, is just survival in disguise. Friedrich Nietzsche took this truth even further. He wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." Nietzsche understood something we try so hard to ignore, that growth, creativity, and transformation don't come from safety or order. They come from chaos, from the parts of ourselves we'd rather avoid, from the shadow Jung described. Think about that for a moment. We spend so much of our energy trying to hide our chaos, our doubts, our fears, our contradictions, because we think they make us weak. But Nietzsche flips this idea on its head. Chaos is not a defect. It's the raw material of greatness. Without it, you can never create anything new. Without it, You remain predictable, stagnant, imprisoned by the mask. To birth a dancing star, you must first allow yourself to embrace the disorder within. That's not falling behind, that's preparing for transformation. And then we come to Aldous Huxley, who saw the danger of masks not just on an individual level, but on a societal one. In his dystopian novel Brave New World, Huxley painted a future where people didn't need chains to remain enslaved. Instead, they were kept docile with constant pleasure, endless distractions, and artificial happiness. He warned us that the most effective form of control isn't repression, it's entertainment. Sound familiar? Look at our world today. Whenever discomfort arises, we reach for a distraction. Another Netflix episode, another drink, another scroll through Instagram, another dopamine hit. We tell ourselves it's harmless, but Huxley would argue otherwise. Every time we numb ourselves with pleasure, we avoid facing our deeper truths. We avoid the chaos within. We keep the mask firmly in place. And without realizing it, we become what he predicted, happy slaves, shackled not by force, but by our own cravings. Now put these three voices together, Jung, Nietzsche, Huxley, and you see a clear pattern. Jung says the goal of life is to become your true self. Nietzsche says the path to that self requires embracing chaos. And Huxley warns that society will seduce you away from that path with easy pleasures and masks of artificial happiness. So when you feel stuck, when you feel behind, remember, you're not failing. You're simply caught in the tension between these three forces. Your mask keeps you safe, but it keeps you small. Your chaos scares you, but it holds your potential. And the distractions of the modern world promise relief, but they rob you of freedom. The solution, then, is not to chase harder, hustle more, or build a shinier mask. The solution is courage. The courage to sit with your chaos. The courage to step out from behind the mask. The courage to reject the shallow pleasures that keep you numb, and instead face the raw, uncomfortable truth of who you are. Because in the end, Jung was right. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And Nietzsche was right. Only by embracing chaos can you give birth to something extraordinary. And Huxley was right. If you keep running from discomfort into distractions, you'll never taste freedom. So ask yourself, will you keep wearing the mask until it becomes your prison? Or will you dare to step forward, unmasked, chaotic, real, and finally begin to live? So where do we go from here? Once you've seen the mask, once you've recognized how much of your life has been dictated by it, you cannot unsee it. The question is no longer, am I behind? But how do I move forward without hiding? The first step is acknowledgement. You cannot transform what you refuse to admit exists. Look honestly at the roles you play. At work, do you pretend to be the calm professional who has everything under control, even when inside you're trembling? With your friends, do you wear the mask of the always funny one, the easygoing one, while you bury your sadness? Online, do you project a version of yourself that feels more like a brand than a human being? None of these masks makes you weak. They make you human. But they also keep you stuck. The moment you whisper to yourself, "This is a mask. It is not the whole of me," something inside begins to loosen. The prison door cracks open. The second step is turning toward the shadow. This is where most people falter, because the shadow is uncomfortable. It contains all the feelings, impulses, and truths we've been told to suppress: our anger, our envy, our desire, our vulnerability. We push them away because we fear what they say about us. But Jung warned us, until you bring the unconscious into consciousness, it will run your life, and you will call it destiny. Facing the shadow does not mean acting out every impulse or indulging every fear. It means recognizing them as part of you. It means looking in the mirror and saying, "Yes, this too is me." The moment you accept the shadow, it loses its power to control you from the dark. The third step is movement, authentic, unmasked movement. This doesn't mean you have to burn your old life down. It means you begin to make choices aligned with your soul instead of your persona. You say no when you mean no, even if it disappoints someone. You allow yourself to express doubt or sadness, even if it makes you look less strong. You create, not because it will look impressive, but because the act itself feels alive. Authentic movement is rarely dramatic. It begins in small acts of honesty. But those small acts gather momentum, and slowly, your life begins to belong to you again. And here is the hardest truth. When you start living this way, not everyone will applaud. Some will criticize. Some will drift away. Some will prefer the version of you that wore the mask because it was easier for them. But this is not a sign of failure. It is proof that you are moving. You are no longer standing frozen, waiting for the world's approval. You are finally walking your own path. Think of the freedom this brings. Imagine waking up without rehearsing who you need to be today. Imagine speaking without editing yourself in real time to make sure it sounds acceptable. Imagine creating something and not caring if it gets 1 like or 1,000. That is the taste of liberation. That is what it means to live instead of perform. And yes, it requires courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is moving forward even when your knees shake. Courage is the bridge between the life dictated by the mask and the life waiting behind it. Without courage, you remain frozen, endlessly comparing yourself to others. With courage, you step into the unknown, not perfectly, not fearlessly, but authentically. So if you feel behind right now, pause. Ask yourself honestly, is it really that I'm behind? Or is it that I'm waiting? Waiting until I feel ready. Waiting until I'm certain I won't be judged. Waiting until the mask feels safe to remove. But here's the truth. You will never feel fully ready. You will never eliminate the risk of rejection. The only way forward is to step out anyway. You don't need more time. You don't need to catch up. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You need one thing only. The courage to show your real face to the world. Because you are not behind, you are standing at the threshold of your real life. And the moment you take that step, unmasked, imperfect, and true, is the moment you finally begin to move. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. A day when you no longer feel the need to put on the mask. No more rehearsed smiles, no more carefully curated posts. No more pretending to be stronger, happier, or more successful than you truly feel. Just you raw, real, unpolished. Imagine walking into a room and speaking without filtering yourself through the question, will they approve? Imagine making choices not because they look good on paper, but because they feel right in your bones. What would you do differently if you didn't have to prove anything to anyone? Would you leave the job that drains you? Would you finally start the project you've been quietly dreaming about? Would you show your vulnerability to the people you love instead of hiding behind toughness? Or maybe, for the first time in your life, you'd allow yourself to rest without guilt, to breathe without rushing, to live without competing. This is not a fantasy, it's a possibility. And it begins the moment you stop waiting for permission and start giving yourself the freedom to be who you are. For too long, we've been trained to see life as a race, to measure ourselves against others, to believe that if we're not constantly sprinting forward, we're falling behind. But here's the truth. The only race that matters is the one toward your own authenticity. And in that race, there's no competition, no timeline, no finish line. There is only you, walking step by step into a life that finally feels like your own. Yes, it's frightening. To drop the mask means exposing the self you've hidden for years. It means risking judgment, misunderstanding, even rejection. But what's the alternative? To keep living a life that looks good but feels empty? To keep suffocating behind a mask until you forget there was ever a face beneath it? You already know the cost of that path. You've felt it in the late-night anxiety, the gnawing emptiness, the endless comparisons. You've felt it every time you've achieved something impressive and still thought, why doesn't this feel enough? That's the mask talking. That's the life you've outgrown. So here's the invitation. Don't be afraid. Step forward and ask yourself. Speak with your real voice. Let the world see your real face. Some people won't like it, and that's okay. Their approval was never the point. The point is that you will finally like yourself, not the mask, not the performance, but the person underneath. And here's the miracle. When you dare to live this way, you'll discover you were never truly behind. You were simply paused, waiting for the courage to begin. The moment you step into authenticity, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. The moment you drop the mask, you realize there was never anything to catch up to, because the only life you're meant to live is yours. So I'll leave you with this question. If tomorrow you woke up and decided to stop hiding, what would be the very first thing you'd do? What's the step, big or small, that would feel most true to your soul? Whatever it is, that's where your journey begins. Don't wait. Don't keep playing a game that was never yours. Don't let fear keep you frozen another day. You are not behind. You are standing at the doorway of your real life, and all that's required is the courage to walk through. So take that step. Take it trembling, take it uncertain, take it messy, but take it as yourself. Because in the end, that's the only race that matters. And the moment you begin, you've already won. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't let it end here. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to receive the next video, each one designed to wake you up, challenge you, and guide you closer to your true self. And I want to hear from you. Share in the comments. What part of this message resonated with you the most? Which insight, which idea, which moment made you pause and reflect? Your words might just be the reminder someone else needs on their journey. So join the conversation. Stay connected. And together, let's keep unmasking what it really means to live.